Israel sharply escalated its military campaign in Gaza City this weekend, launching a fresh wave of attacks under Operation Gideon's Chariots 2. The mass evacuation of Gaza City is continuing, with Hamas officials confirming that nearly half the population has fled to humanitarian zones in the south. More from ILTV's Devo Klein.
The IDF says it struck around 100 terror targets in the past 24 hours alone, including tunnel shafts, weapons depots, command centers, and active Hamas terror cells. The assault is being led by multiple divisions across the Strip. In Gaza City, Division 98 continues to destroy booby-trap buildings, firing positions, and underground infrastructure, while eliminating Hamas fighters above ground. Simultaneously, Division 162 is active in Jabalia, coordinating with Air Force strikes to take out armed fighters engaging IDF units. In the north, Division 99 is targeting terror infrastructure both above and below ground, including hidden shafts used to move weapons and personnel. And in the south, near Khan Yunis and Rafah, the Gaza Division, also known as Division 143, continues to fight street by street, destroying Hamas positions and eliminating fighters. The IDF says the mission remains focused, eradicating Hamas's military wing, securing Israeli borders, and bringing home the hostages. The mass exodus of civilians in Gaza City is continuing. According to both Israel and Hamas-run civil defense, approximately 450,000 to 480,000 Palestinians have fled Gaza City in recent weeks. Israel says this mass exodus proves its warnings to civilians have been heard, despite Hamas allegedly blocking many from escaping the active war zone.
U.S. President Donald Trump is backing Israel's latest expansion into Gaza City and continues to instruct the U.S. ambassador to veto anti-Israel resolutions on the war in Gaza. Trump has also said yet again that fewer than 20 Israeli hostages remain alive. More in the following report.
U.S. President Donald Trump says IDF operations in Gaza could help free hostages still held by Hamas. But speaking from the Oval Office, Trump claimed once again that fewer than 20 hostages remain alive.
We're down to 20, and we have 32 dead people. You know that. We have 32, maybe more, 38, but between 32 and 38 people that were dead, mostly young people.
Israeli intelligence estimate as many as 20 of the 48 hostages remaining are still alive, while hostage families fear the intense fighting may cost their loved ones' lives. Trump also pushed back hard against a UN report accusing Israel of genocide, and yet called October 7th a genocide at its highest level.
The UN concluded this week that Israel committed genocide in Gaza. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I haven't seen that. I'm looking at it, but did anybody commit genocide on October 7th? What do you think about that? That was genocide at the highest level. That was murder, genocide, you can call it whatever you want. But little babies were chopped in half.
And in Gaza,
arms were cut off people, heads were cut off people. That's genocide. That's genocide also.
The White House says the president will continue to support Israel's right to defend itself and eliminate the terror infrastructure in Gaza. Turning to the hostage for ceasefire talks, Qatar is demanding an apology from Israel before renewing efforts to restart the hostage for ceasefire talks. Officials say Israel could offer a narrow apology, possibly for the accidental death of a Qatari security officer, instead of asserting liability for targeting Hamas. Without such an apology, Qatar's mediation is on hold, leaving hostage release and peace talks in limbo. Meanwhile, U.S. political support for Israel is continuing in the United Nations. Over the weekend, the U.S. vetoed a draft Security Council resolution that would have demanded an immediate, unconditional, and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, and that Israel lift all restrictions on aid deliveries to the Palestinian enclave. It received 14 votes in favor. It was the sixth time the U.S. had cast a veto in the Security Council over the nearly 2-year war between Israel and Palestinian terrorists Hamas.
We would like to thank the United States for showing leadership and moral conviction by vetoing this biased resolution.
As Israelis prepare for Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, millions of shekels worth of food will go to waste, while thousands of families struggle to put holiday meals on the table. Leket Israel, the country's largest food rescue organization, is changing that, delivering fresh holiday boxes filled with fruit and vegetables to those in need. Today, we're joined by Joseph Gittler, the founder of Leket Israel, to learn more about their mission and how viewers can help. Joseph, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for the opportunity, and Happy New Year to all.
Joseph, why did you start Leket Israel, and what is food rescue? What about it can you tell us? Can you explain a little bit?
So I started Leket Israel because Israel today is a Western country, and we waste with the best of them. But unfortunately, those who've been left behind in Startup Nation have only found it harder over the years to make ends meet. So what food rescue does, it says we have all this wonderful, healthy, nutritious, safe food going to waste. That's really just an abomination. Let's make sure it gets in the hands of those who need it. So sometimes it's not so clear how exactly this food is rescued. So what we're talking about is cooked meals that never made it out of the kitchen. There's a fear of not having enough food, whether it be in the army or at a wedding or at a corporate cafeteria. And so there's always excess made. That's where Leket comes into the story. The same goes for produce. As a society, things happen, so farmers need to produce more than perhaps society needs. And then you have instances of low market price or ugly fruits and vegetables or order cancellations, which unfortunately are happening a lot today. Israeli farmers are struggling to send their excess crops overseas. And that's when Leket steps in with our tens of thousands of volunteers working in the fields, working in our distribution center, and those are all opportunities and ways to give us a hand.
Now, can you tell us about the team behind Leket and the effort that goes into collecting and distributing the food?
So we have a big logistics team. When you think of Leket, think of a not-for-profit logistics company. We have a team of over 150 employees in Israel, working with over 75,000 volunteers every year in concert to make sure that all this food that's available from hotels and corporate cafeterias and from farmers and kibbutzim, which simply would go to waste in the past, makes its way to those in need.
And what does it mean for families to receive these Rosh Hashanah boxes, specifically during this turbulent year?
Yes, so it's interesting. We always talk about the fact that Leket helps people all year round. If you're hungry in February, it's no different than before the holidays. But it's true and not true, because there's a pressure and a sense of honor that people want to be able to enjoy their holidays like all others. And once again, in a country like Israel, where so many people can live in dignity, if you're not living in dignity, it makes it that much harder. So we make extra efforts around the holidays to make sure that we have not just our normal produce and not just our normal cooked meals, but we go out of our way to make this year 65,000 additional boxes that we're distributing through our network of partner agencies. And we're also helping communities we don't normally help. So for example, we've been getting a lot of calls from reservists and social workers who work with reservist families, mostly those who have small businesses or are self-employed and are really struggling to make ends meet.
Now, how can viewers help Leket make sure that no family goes without food on this holiday?
So I'd say two great ways to help Leket. First, if you're in Israel or coming to Israel, get in touch with us at Leket, Leket.org. Sign up to volunteer. We need as much help as we can get. And of course, we always need financial help to expand our activities. Just one example, we're distributing for the holidays 2.3 million pounds of mangoes. It's more mangoes than we've ever seen in the history of Leket. And it takes a lot of logistics to make that happen. And so we would love your help. All the opportunities for donating are on our website as well.
Absolutely. Joseph Gittler, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you again. Shana Tova to all.
Portugal's foreign ministry confirmed today that the country will officially recognize a Palestinian state just ahead of the UN General Assembly. Lisbon had previously indicated this move in July, citing the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and Israel's threats to annex territory as factors pushing them toward recognition. Portugal joined several other Western countries, including France, the UK, and Canada, which are planning similar steps during the UN General Assembly. The leaders of the Jewish communities in the UK and France denounced the decisions of their governments, calling them a reward for the terrorists. The Jewish leaders of France and Britain spoke out against their nation's decisions. Let's take a listen.
Nous considérons que cette reconnaissance vient dans un moment très sensible, très inflammable dans le débat public en France et je crains qu'elle donne lieu à ce que l'extrême gauche hystérise encore plus le débat public autour de la question de Gaza et que cette hystérisation, malheureusement, contribue à un climat difficile et lourd pour les Juifs.
The objection is not the concept of a Palestinian state at all. It's an objection to it being done in this context, whereby Hamas are not being given conditions for ending their rule of terror and for the release of the Israeli hostages. This is being seen by us as a reward for the awful events of October the 7th.
There was an epidemic. Thousands went blind. Yet one woman had a vision. It started with 2 nurses from America. Today, it's 2 world-renowned medical centers pioneering breakthroughs and treating more than 1 million people a year. This is the work of Hadassah, America's largest Jewish women's organization, a life-changing force in Israel. For over 100 years, our vision has been clear: to help heal our world. This is Hadassah.
And just ahead of the Rosh Hashanah holiday, ILTV's executive editor Mayan Hoffman sat down with U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee in his Tel Aviv office. In a wide-ranging interview, Huckabee spoke about annexation, Palestinian leadership, and Israel's future. Let's take a look.
Ambassador Mike Huckabee, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Of course, I want to start out with something unfortunately not so positive. There were these new comments reported by the Wall Street Journal about this tension that is happening between Trump and Netanyahu and increasing frustration. I'm wondering if you have any insight to this. Is this accurate?
I think people need to understand that the relationship between the United States and Israel is as strong as it ever has been. And the relationship between the President and the Prime Minister is as strong as it's ever been. So let's take off the table that there's this rift or there's a division. It doesn't mean that friends don't at times maybe disagree. I've been married 51 years. My wife and I disagree every now and then. That's normal. It's normal. But you don't break up and go get a divorce because you had a disagreement over something. You work through it. President Trump has spent more time with Prime Minister Netanyahu than any world leader by far on the planet. I think that says everything a person needs to know.
On September 22nd, which is just coming up, there's going to be this whole debate and probably recognition by a number of Western countries of Palestinian statehood. What will be the U.S. position that day? Will the U.S. actively lobby against?
This is a ridiculous idea. It's hurtful. It's detrimental. I think Secretary Rubio has used about every possible combination of words he can. And he's made many calls to our allies and said to them, what are you doing? We are vehemently opposed to this. It is a violation of Oslo. It is an outrageous action that is empowering Hamas and caused negotiations to cease. It ended any talk between Ramallah and Jerusalem. I was involved in those, trying to get this financial impasse resolved. It put that stone cold. And then it's also giving really a sense of, I think, encouragement to Israel to consider declaring sovereignty over parts of Judea and Samaria, because why not? The whole thing is a stunt. It's not going to happen. You can't just unilaterally declare Palestine to be a state. So what they think they're doing, I have no idea, but I know what they are doing, and it's absolutely repugnant to the U.S.
Is that generally the stance, though, of the administration with such an evangelical backing that Judea and Samaria belongs to the Jewish people?
I don't think it's an official policy that has been stated, put into writing. I know we have stated, and this has been something that carries over from the first President Trump term, and that is that it is not illegal for Jews to live in Judea and Samaria. That was something that for some people was, oh my gosh, it's illegal. I'm thinking, why would it be illegal? Brits can move into Judea and Samaria. Nobody says anything. French people can move there. Why can't Jews move there and live there? You know, everybody forgets that, first of all, there was no such thing as a Palestinian state. Yasser Arafat in 1964 created an aspiration for a Palestinian state with the PLO. And then there have been many iterations of proposals and ideas. There was, in fact, the creation of a Palestinian state. It's called Gaza. How did that work out?
And yet most of the world, as we said, is really siding with Hamas. We're seeing all of these massive rallies in the streets and countries getting ready, our allies, to go in to recognize a Palestinian state and give in, as you said, to terrorism. So what makes the U.S. different? Why are the U.S. and Israel such staunch allies even now?
Israel's enemies are our enemies. We understand that. The philosophical underpinning that did October the 7th is what attacked us on 9/11. We're never going to forget that. We're not going to forget that for 46 years, Iran and its proxies, which are Hamas, the Houthis, and Hezbollah, has said that Israel is the little Satan. We're going to annihilate them, and then we're coming after the great Satan, which is, in their mind, the U.S. So Israel has always been the appetizer. The U.S. is the entree. And those of us who have lived through these past 46 years understand that when people keep telling you for 46 consecutive years they're going to kill you, you might want to take them seriously. I would be surprised if the PA would be picked to take over Gaza, because unless they make some serious changes in the way they're governing now, I'm not sure the U.S. could be supportive of that. I'll give you a couple of examples. If they continue the pay for slay, now they say they've changed it, but the fact is they really haven't. It just is now kind of maybe mechanized through a different system of payments. But even this summer, President Abbas has said if there's only one penny left in the treasury, that last penny will go to the martyrs, which means the terrorists, the people who killed Jews and got paid for it. You can't have a responsible government that pays people to murder.
So then what is the vision for governing Gaza after? Does the U.S. have an idea of who should take over?
There would be a consortium of states, mostly Arab states. There would be a sort of an interim government and eventually move toward autonomy. But right now, I don't think anyone knows, and it's probably premature to get too into how it's going to look, because until all the hostages come out and Hamas surrenders, there is no day after. It's really unfortunate that a lot of people are thinking that this is going on because Israel wants it to go on. Israel wants it to end.
After Israel's attempted attack in Doha, the presidents came out and met immediately with the emir. Rubio traveled over there trying to allay any tension with the country. We know that Qatar is funding terrorism. We know that Qatar is housing terrorists. Why is the U.S. not taking a stance against Qatar?
I think U.S. puts pressure on Qatar in ways that may not be that public, but we have a huge, our largest military base in the Middle East is there. They've done good things with us. They've been a good partner in some things, and other things we could see some improvement. One thing I think President Trump is the best at is recognizing you do what you can as well as you can with people who will work with you, and then you work toward a better relationship.
Lord, now I want to just end with a question about the evangelical Christian community and certainly your longtime support for the State of Israel. The evangelical community in the younger generation, we're starting to see is distancing both from the Bible but also from Israel. What are your concerns there, and is there a way to fix that so that in future generations we'll have more leaders like you?
Well, I don't think it's widespread to the point of panic or alarm, but it is happening. And I'm very concerned about it. Some of it is because billions of dollars of Middle East money has poured into colleges and universities to indoctrinate young Christians that Israel's not special, there's nothing all that unique about it. I blame part of it on that and part of it on weak pastors who from their own pulpits are not explaining the biblical basis of support for the Jewish people. But we've got to do a better job of explaining why the relationship is important, how America benefits from it, because there are people in America who foolishly believe, well, we're doing all this stuff for Israel, they're doing nothing for us. And that's not true. We're getting as much as we are giving. It is a two-way partnership that America benefits from, not just Israel.
Wonderful. Well, Master Huckabee, thank you so much for speaking to us today.
Thank you. Pleasure to visit with you.
Thanks.
You can watch the complete interview tonight on ILTV's YouTube and Screen IL channels. Be sure to check it out. Israel has closed the Allenby border crossing after Thursday's deadly terrorist attack left 2 IDF soldiers dead. A Jordanian truck driver carrying humanitarian aid destined for Gaza stabbed and shot the soldiers near the border. In response, IDF Chief Eyal Zamir has halted all aid entering Gaza via Jordan. Prime Minister Netanyahu is demanding extensive security checks for aid trucks and drivers coming from Jordan, including metal detectors. While the Allenby crossing remains closed for cargo, other routes are still operating to keep aid flowing into Gaza. The IDF will deploy reinforcements in Judea and Samaria in preparation for Jewish holiday season. ILTV's Devo Klein has the latest.
The army said it will bolster its presence in the West Bank with 8 additional companies during the upcoming Jewish holiday season. Military officials say this is in light of heightened security risks and will set to bolster Judea and Samaria division to the equivalent of 23 battalions until mid-October. Meanwhile, the IDF have carried out another major anti-terror operation in Judea and Samaria. Overnight, troops from the Binyamin Brigade, together with the Magav Engineering Unit, Duvdevan Commandos, and Reserves Forces, targeted a terrorist compound in the Ramallah area. Inside, they discovered and destroyed rockets, improvised explosive devices, and large stockpiles of sabotage materials. The IDF says the site was being used to prepare heavy strikes against Israeli civilians. This morning, engineering teams detonated the weapons cache, preventing what officers described as, quote, an imminent threat. In recent months, the army has intensified operations across Judea and Samaria, uncovering rocket workshops, IED labs, and safe houses used by Hamas and other militant factions. Commanders say these missions have foiled dozens of planned attacks and are part of a broader strategy to ensure Judea and Samaria does not become another front in the war. The IDF reiterates that its priority is clear: to dismantle terror infrastructure and protect Israeli communities from ongoing threats.
The Air Force targeted Amar Hayel Kutaybani, the commander of Hezbollah's so-called Sinai outpost. In a separate strike near Tibnin, the IDF killed a terrorist belonging to Hezbollah's elite Redwan forces. The army says both men were directly involved in rebuilding Iranian-backed terror infrastructure. The IDF also destroyed a Hezbollah vessel used to gather intelligence off the coast of Nakura, calling it a violation of last year's ceasefire understandings. The army warned civilians to evacuate and then struck Hezbollah arms depots in multiple villages. The IDF says it will continue targeting Hezbollah to remove any threat to Israel's citizens. Lebanese officials say they're working to fully disarm Hezbollah within 3 months. In the meantime, Israel takes action when deemed needed. As we approach the Hebrew New Year, Rosh Hashanah, the Israeli Central Bureau of Statistics released their annual end-of-the-year statistics regarding Israel's population. Let's break them down. Israel's population has reached 10,148,000 citizens, with about 7.75 million Jewish residents, which is about 75.8% of the population, and 2.13 million Arabs. They make up 21.5% of the population. Over the past year, the population grew by roughly 101,000, a 1% growth rate, which is down from the 1.2% growth recorded last year, and the 1.6% recorded in the previous year. 25,000 new immigrants arrived in the country over the past year, down from 33,000 last year and 46,000 the year before, according to the CBS. Finally, the annual survey, which was carried out this year during wartime, found that a whopping 91% of Israelis are satisfied with their lives. More than half believe their economic situation will improve in the coming years. Now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Clear skies are expected around most of the country tonight, with temperatures reaching lows of 23 degrees Celsius or 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow we'll see sunny skies alongside hot temperatures, seeing highs of 33 degrees Celsius or 91 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a wrap for today's news. As we close tonight, we want to wish our viewers a happy Jewish New Year, Shana Tova. It has been a tough and painful year for Israel. As families gather to celebrate Rosh Hashanah, ILTV joins in praying for a year of strength, safety, and peace for the people of Israel and Jewish communities around the world. For the latest updates from Israel on all your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channels and our new live channel, and you can also catch us on Screen IL with 24/7 live coverage. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Sivan Raviv. Shana Tova. Be well, be safe, and thank you so much for watching.